Hey, what is up guys? Andrew MJB here with the Motorola DROID Turbo, and this is basically a video to help you or offer you tips on how to get the maximum amount of battery life possible with your new Droid device. As you can see, I'm currently rocking 1 day, 17 hours, 45 minutes. I actually think I just went over that. And you will also see my screen on time is rocking an incredible 6 hours and 22 minutes. Now, this is very moderate use. This is not light use, but by all means, this is not heavy use. This is very, very moderate use. I do a lot of emails, I do a lot of web browsing, I do some phone calls, I do a lot of music, I do a lot of YouTube during my day, and this is what I'm getting. This is very moderate use, and I will go ahead and show you how I'm getting this. And as you will see, I do have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi enabled 100% of the time. I do have a Motorola 360, so all of my notifications are getting pushed to my smartwatch throughout the day. And the first thing I'm going to show you is in the more here. We're going to go down to mobile networks. Now, I don't know if this makes a huge difference, but it's worth trying. I do notice that I get a better signal strength when I enable this. Whether or not I don't know. But you're going to go to preferred network type, and the default is global. But you're going to go ahead and select LTE. If you're on Verizon, you want to select LTE, CDMA. If you're on AT&T or whatever, you just got the phone and somehow you're on some other service, you'll enable the one on the bottom. But the one in the middle is what you're looking for if you're on Verizon. Most of you are going to know that, but go ahead and enable that. Disable NFC if you're not using payment systems or anything like that. But if you do use Google Wallet, obviously you can go back and forth and turn it on. Another thing is, in the Moto, I do have pretty much all of the features on the Motorola disabled because I do have the Moto 360, so all my notifications are getting pushed to my smartwatch. If you have a smartwatch, then obviously take advantage of this because I think this is where a lot of the idle drain is going in particular. In fact, a lot of my testing is proving that this is the issue because the display, the active display, the Moto display is coming on way too often. And there are sensors in the corners of the phone, and I think one by the camera somewhere, or just at least 3 that I'm aware of that are actually used to pick up heat signatures or the proximity of an individual close to the phone. Even when you're not next to the phone, they're still being fired. I noticed in a completely dark room or a very dim room, you can see them when the features are enabled. And I think that is taking up a lot of battery life over time. Maybe not so much at first or in general, but it will add up, and I think that's kind of where the idling issues are besides the cell standby. Now, I do have voice still enabled. Right now it's not working for some reason. It was working earlier, so that's up to you if you want to leave that on or off. With assist, I pretty much leave everything off. I don't really need it. I can turn the phone off. I know how to manage my phone, so I don't need the meeting thing. I do have setting or sleeping enabled. That's pretty easy. It's based on time instead of GPS. I do have all the actions disabled. Wave to silence is no longer on, so that's something that you can decide for yourself whether or not you want to disable this or you lose these options. But if you want to get substantial battery life, really insane battery life like I'm getting, these are the things you're going to have to do. So you're not going to be able to swipe to disable the alarm or disable or decline calls or notifications or things like that. So that'll be completely up to you. I do turn this off as well just in case there's something buggy with that, as well as the Moto display approach, kind of like the ambient display on the Nexus 6 with Android L, which they do state will drain battery over time as well, more than usual. Which is what I think part of the issue is with those sensors. I think there's just too much drain going on right now. Whether or not it's a bug or a feature or something they can fix, hopefully they can fix it because I don't mind the Moto display at all. It's actually really cool, but I can live without it. It's not something I need. I didn't have it on my S5, which I had before this, so it's not a big deal. And obviously, like I said, I have the Moto display disabled. That will be up to you guys. If you have a smartwatch, you know, there's really no reason to have it unless you like looking at your phone on the desk a lot for some reason. But if you have a smartwatch, you're going to see all your notifications on that, and you can just go in there and swipe away and access everything through there, which is what I do. I do pretty much all of my text messaging through my smartwatch, my Moto 360. The only thing I do is email on the phone, web browsing, YouTube, music, and obviously apps. By the way, I do not use or play any games right now with these stats I'm showing you. This is pretty serious stuff that I'm trying to test, you know, everything, just apps and email and calls and music, that type of thing. Now, we're also going to go in the Droids app. We're going to disable that. It's not hard to turn on and turn off. I leave it off because you never know if it's draining battery or not, or using battery in some case. Now it is a pretty cool feature. I have used it to give some people some pictures, but it's not hard to turn on and off. Now in display as well, you're going to want to go in here, and there's this attentive display. Go ahead and hit that. This is going to be on by default, and what this is there's a sensor that basically does facial recognition or face detection, or maybe even looks at your eyes or something along those lines. So if you're not looking at your phone, it will turn off quicker than normal depending on your settings on to keep the screen awake. But I go ahead and I disable these because that's one less thing that's accessing something that's consuming battery life over time. Again, maybe just sipping, but it all adds up. And I've noticed significant improvements disabling these things. As you can see, I don't think anyone else out there is getting these kind of stats currently, or they're not posting about it. That's pretty much that in display. In terms of apps, I do disable a lot of the bloat. It's going to be in your running, but since I already have them disabled, they're in disabled. But I'll show you what I have disabled just in case that will help you if you don't know. Obviously, all the Amazon stuff I don't use. If you do, that'll be up to you, but I turn off the App Store, which is Amazon, Music, Kindle, and the App Suite. I turn off Audible. I don't use that. I'm just going to go to the bottom right here. VZ Navigator, Verizon Support and Protection, Verizon Location Agent. Make sure you go in there and you'll see disable. Just disable those because that's just Verizon services. Unless you're some kind of hardcore Verizon person, turn these off. Turn that bloat off. There's no reason to have these on. They're just taking up battery, they're just taking up space. Even though they're still there, they're not going to take up as much space because of updates, but they will still be there. You can't get rid of them currently. There's also the soft card. Disable that. It's a payment service unless you use it for some reason. I use Google Wallet, so that's garbage to me. Slacker radio, I disable. My Verizon Mobile, My Info Zone, or Verizon Services bloatware I don't use, as well as the message service from Verizon. I disable that, as well as the keyboards. Now, I did disable the Motorola flip case services. If you're using the Motorola flip case for the phone, the Turbo, by all means don't disable that, as it will probably not make the case work. But I don't use it, so I disabled it. I don't know if there's a sensor in the phone that it's trying to access at certain points of time, or if it's depleting battery or not. Probably not, but I disabled it just in case. So that's up to you. I did disable the command center as well. And the command center is basically the clock widget that comes with the Droid Turbo. It's the first thing you're going to see right in the center up here. When you power on your device, it displays the clocks, it displays the weather, it displays your battery life on the bottom. If you like it, if you use it, by all means leave it on. If not, turn it off. There's no reason to have it on if you're not going to use it. And a lot of people are complaining about the command center chewing up insane amounts of battery. I've seen pictures of the displays where they're choosing like up to 20% or more, or even up to 30% of the battery life. I don't know why, but disable that thing. Get rid of it. That's pretty much that for apps. As I mentioned, that's pretty much everything that I've done. I've disabled basically all the Motorola features because I think right now there's something going on that's buggy. I don't know if it's the new display just chewing up a ridiculous amount of battery, which obviously it is. It's one of the biggest things, but it always is. But I mean, I'm getting crazy stats. I mean, 1 day, 17 hours, 54 minutes. I'm almost about to hit the 1 day, 18-hour mark, and I'm almost about to hit 7 hours. And I still have juice. I mean, I don't have that much, but I probably have enough to get me at least to probably 1 day, 20 hours if I really wanted. And I could easily get 7 hours plus, which is crazy because I've actually got 7 hours, probably 7 hours, 24 minutes or something like that with very heavy usage, just using the screen constantly. So obviously my idle time wasn't that great, but I mean to get almost the same output with just moderate use and crazy idle times is just, it's pretty crazy. So those are the options and tips I can offer you. Whether or not you want to use them, whether or not you have a smartwatch, will make a difference on notifications. If it's something you can't lose the active display, that's completely up to you. But if you can deal without having active display, if you can deal without having that on, or having that feature. If you can deal with just pushing the power button to turn your device on, putting your pin in, pattern lock if you don't have a smartwatch, that's completely up to you, but it will definitely increase your battery tremendously. And another thing I forgot to mention is location services. Now, if you don't use GPS, if you don't use maps, if you don't have a smartwatch, if you don't want Google to know where you're at, obviously by all means turn off GPS, turn off location services. It will increase your battery tremendously. I mean, you will get probably even better stats than I am, but I use it because I do have a smartwatch. I do use maps and certain features and whatnot that use GPS features, but I do put it in power saving mode unless I'm doing something that requires specific accuracy. Then I do disable certain things and enable a higher accuracy, but I do leave it on power saving for the most part, and I get pretty great battery life. In fact, I have power saving on pretty much throughout the day with what I have now on the screen stats here. But that is a feature, completely up to you as well, optional. That's up for you to decide. The only other thing I can offer you guys is make sure you take the system update, unless you for some reason don't want to take the update because you're worried about root issues. But I am on the latest software. As you can see, there's nothing available right now currently, and I am running the 21.21.15 English US, whatever version that is exactly, but that's what I am on, and it came out the day I got the phone. As well as make sure you hit this build number about 10 times to get developer options. That's in About Phone. You go down to the bottom, you hit that till you get the developer options. And in here, you'll see it right under Printing and About Phone. It's all the way on the bottom of Settings. You just go all the way to the bottom here. But what I want you to do too that could possibly help you is you'll see the background process limit. That's all the way on the bottom in developer options. You'll click on this. Now yours is going to be set default to standard limit. That basically lets Android control the background processes. Now this is something you might not want to mess with. If you're a heavy user, a multitasker, and you have a lot of apps open at once, you probably don't want to use this. But if you're a moderate user, you don't like a lot of apps open, I would definitely recommend you hit at most 4 processes in the background. That way it controls your memory a little bit better and controls your battery life a little bit better. Now if you do see a lot of apps crashing or you notice more crashes than usual, come back in here and put that back to the standard limit. I haven't personally noticed any issues with it, but if you do, then obviously that is going to be one of the problems. Now never ever put it on no background processes, because if you use a launcher or any type of customization, it's going to try and force close that every time you exit that, and you're going to get nothing but errors. So never use no background. I don't suggest you use any 1, 2, 3. Just use at most 4 processes or leave it at the standard limit. I rock the 4 processes, or processes, whatever you want to call it, and that's pretty much it, guys. That is what I run with, and that is how I'm getting these ridiculous stats. As you can see, I only dropped about 1% during this entire, video, and I'm currently at 6 hours and 35 minutes and counting. So use it if you want it. If you don't care about the features or losing the features, or just give it a try and see what your differences are. Like I said, your mileage may vary. Obviously, you're not going to have the active display, but try it out. You might like it.